Hello crafty friends, it's Chala and welcome back to another episode of Crafting Through the Chaos of Life here at my YouTube channel. I'm here today to share some card making inspiration with you. If you've been playing along with us over at the Scrap and Stamp Facebook challenge page, then you know that our word for today is summer. And today's blog is for Scrap and Stamp, and I'll have everything that I used today listed over on their blog. So click on the arrow down below and you can get a link to head over there. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear the word summer, I automatically think of sunshine. This is something I don't feel that we've had a lot of here in Calgary, and it is raining today and for the next several days. So I hope that today's cards warm you up just the same. So I want to talk about MFT's new Sunny Vibe stamp set. It is a perfect way to create a summer scene card, and I also love the paper pad here from Tailored Expressions, and I'll be talking about that more in a bit. But I played around with creating a custom one-layer background piece, and I chose a few images and stamped them out with the Memento Black Tuxedo ink and did some simple Copic coloring. I just love this little critter lounging around with his little book here. That's so me in the summertime. And then after I did the coloring, I added a gray shadow around the images to give it the piece some depth. And then I used the MFT wonky stitched rectangle die and mounted that onto some orange cardstock. For the sentiment, I really wanted to keep it simple, and I did the black cardstock with white heat embossing, and then just trimmed it into a banner. Now you want to make sure that when you are doing your sentiment strips with black cardstock and you're using the white heat embossing, use that embossing buddy bag. Make sure that you really treat that well with the bag so that you don't get any stray embossing bits around on your project. And then you can go ahead and heat set that. I then cut that into a banner and adhered that with some foam just to give the piece a little bit more dimension. And then that really finished off our first card for today. Really simple, but I love the outcome of it. A really custom background piece, and you can use any of these images in any order to create your own special one-layer card. I was really inspired by my mom, who's been doing some quilting, and she created my kids a beautiful summer patch quilt picnic blanket. And I looked at this pattern paper from Tailored Expressions and this little square stitch die that I have, and it really just inspired me to kind of create a patchwork quilt looking card. So I've gone ahead and cut out 6 pieces of patterned paper from that Tailored Expressions Summer Sunshine set. It is an excellent, bright, colorful, like really whimsical patterned paper set, and it really did remind me of some of the fabrics that my mom used. So I went ahead and cut 6 of the patterned paper and 6 white squares. I do want to incorporate some of the stamp or a stamp from the Summer Vibe stamp set. And then what I will do is I will go ahead and arrange those onto my background piece to create a patchwork quilt looking background. The image that I chose from that stamp set is obviously the sunshine. I thought that would work really well with this paper. And I'm just going ahead and again using Memento Black Tuxedo ink because I want to use Copic colors to color this little image in. And I'll stamp this with my Stamp Perfect platform and on each square, and then just simply color them in. Once I have those all colored up, I can now begin to arrange these pieces on my background. I chose a light green colored cardstock, and I trimmed that, I die cut that out with my Elizabeth Crafts stitched rectangle die. It was the largest die from that set, and then just alternating the sunshine and the polka dot pattern piece onto my background to give it that patchwork quilt look. Now that I have them where I want them to stay, I'm going to go ahead and use the Gina K Connect glue to adhere these down. I used a liquid adhesive this time because I wanted to give myself wiggle room to get them into the perfect place. I'm also using my reverse tweezers just to make sure I get them lined up perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and line up the first row, but I want to make sure it's straight. So I'm going to bring in my T ruler to make sure I'm doing this straight. I have a tendency to be a little wonky when I glue things down. So bringing in a T ruler or a straight edge like this really helps you to ensure that you're adhering your pieces straight. So I just simply go ahead and adhere all these down. Once that's done, I bring in my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen again because you have to add sparkle. So I die cut that You Are My Sunshine Sentiment from orange cardstock, and I die cut about, I think it was about 3 or 4 layers, stack them together, adhere them with the Gina K Connect glue again, and then, like I said, bringing in that Nuvo Shimmer pen just to give that sparkle and make it really stand out against that fairly busy background. So once I'm done adding this sparkle to the card, I can then adhere this down onto a card base. Now this card base did have to be custom. I believe the card itself was a little shy of a 5x7 card. Yeah, I think it was about a 5x7 card that I ended up using. I didn't have any of these made up, so I just cut down a 12x12 paper pad to create the card base for this one. I really think this one is a lot of fun. I like the shimmer on the sentiment and the way that it just looks like a beautiful quilt and really reminds me of my mom. I think it's a fun card. Okay, so for my last card, I am bringing in some Broken China and Salty Ocean Distressed Oxide inks. I'm using my mixable stencils here with clouds, my Picket Fence blending brush, and I'm really creating a fun beach scene card with the Sunny Vibe stamp set. So again, just starting out here, I'm doing this on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station. I like to do my ink blending on this platform itself other than my glass Tim Holtz media mat because it gives me the ability to really stick it down with those magnets. I don't really like taping my project down if I don't have to, because I'm always worried about when I pull up that tape that it's going to rip my project, especially after all the time you spend ink blending something. So this platform really gives me the opportunity to use that ruler to really gauge how low I want to do my ink blending, first of all. It lets me set up my scene that way. And then those extra magnets, that ruler also is magnetic and it holds that piece down. And then those additional magnets helps me to hold the stencil itself in place, and I'm not like moving around and I don't have to use adhesive. So I really like this. I like how easy it is to clean the surface off as well, and it's just become, I think, a really important tool in my craft room. Alright, so I'm just going ahead and continuing on with this ink blending with the distressed oxides. I chose the oxides because I feel they just give a little bit smoother look. When I'm trying to do ink blending, I feel like with the regular distress inks, I have to work a little bit harder to get that nice blend. And I wanted the background of this to really be one of those days at the beach where you've got, you know, the blue sky but some clouds, and again, the ink just to me is just a little bit smoother. So that's why I went with that one. This stencil is a lot of fun. I think there's 2 different types of these My Favorite Things stencils for the clouds. This one is just the original one. I think there's a number 2 as well. But it's great because you have the ability just to keep turning the stencil and you get a different look each time that you ink up. So just alternating between those 2 colors as I go along here, and then I can start building the beach portion of our scene. To create the sandy beach, I'm using this stitched hillside borders. I like that it kind of flows with the kind of like the waviness of the clouds. I wanted to continue that along. I'm just using some brown cardstock, and again, I'm using thermal web adhesive here to adhere the die cut onto there. This is a low tack adhesive. usually I will, if I'm picking up new ones, I will adhere it to the back of my hand before I run it through my die cutter. I didn't have problems this time, which was good. I'm going to bring in this wavy die frame, sorry. I think that would be really nice just to trim it all out. So I'm just laying the scene out here with all the little critters that I want to use from the stamp set. Now, like I said, I used that brown cardstock. What I thought would be really fun, and I couldn't find it in my stash because I had a minor to major flood in my craft area, is I was looking for some actual sandpaper, and I thought it would be really fun to die cut a piece of actual sandpaper out for the sand piece, but I couldn't find it, so I just went with the brown cardstock. So once I have my scene laid out, I can go ahead and stamp out those images that I want to incorporate into this. And again, using Memento Black Tuxedo ink, because it is a Copic friendly ink, I colored those off screen to save some time, and now I can again just place everything where I want it to go. Now that sand piece is larger than what I need right now. I will trim that down later, but I just wanted to make sure that I could move it kind of back and forth if I wanted the top of the hill of that sand hill in a different place. So I just left it for now. And now I'm just cutting out an extra little shell here because I thought at the beach, of course, you need a shell. Now there are coordinating dies for this, however I don't have them. It's just as easy for me to go ahead and fussy cut these out. None of the images were too complex that I couldn't do that. So that's what I'm doing here today, and just using my Cutter Bee scissors. I really like these ones. They have a really nice, great sharp point to them, and they really give me a good cut. So that's what I'm doing here. All right, now that I have my little scene all set out the way that I like it, I can begin adhering everything down, just making sure everything fits again in that frame that I want to die cut everything out from. I think this scene is just so cute. Definitely a perfect day at the beach for me. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down. Again, my choice of adhesive for this brown piece, I'm just going to use my tape runner. Nothing fancy or special about this, but when it comes to the little images, I do want to use liquid adhesive. Again, this gives me time to move the piece exactly into place. So now I'll go ahead and just trim off this excess sand just to fit my card. Again, I like to use these reversible tweezers to hold these little smaller images just so I don't get my fingers all gluey, and it allows me to do some perfect placement of these items. The last little image I need to adhere down is this cute little sunshine. Again, it wasn't really hard for me to cut around those little rays with my scissors, and I think it looks just so adorable. So as I'm working away here, I'm also thinking about what type of sentiment strip I want to have, and I just went ahead and used my favorite black cardstock white heat embossing. I thought that would allow the sentiment to pop off. Alright, so I do have everything die cut out now and adhered to my card, and I couldn't resist adding sparkle. I'm all about the sparkle, so I used my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen here, and I started adding it to my little shell to give it some sparkle. I did give it a little bit of a squeeze before I started because I thought the brush was dry. I squeezed too much, so I ended up getting a little bit too much on my shell here, and I'm going to try to use my cloth just to lift some of that up because it just came out really fast. I should have actually, when I squeezed it, used some scrap paper first, just dabbed it on some scrap paper to avoid that big blob. But once it dries, it'll dry really beautiful, and then I go ahead and add some of that to the sunshine as well. All right, and this really just kind of finishes off our scene for this beach summer sun card. I'll give you a close-up look of how this turned out. Again, I think this is a really fun card. I like how the inks blended together in the background, and I can't wait to send this off to a friend. Alright, here's a look at all 3 cards that we've done today. I hope that you feel inspired to create your own summer themed cards. Again, head over to Scrap and Stamp for the links to all the products that I use, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember to subscribe and check out these other videos. Take care, guys.